Hi, welcome to Gillette's YouTube channel. Today we'll be covering the tough guy look. If you look like this, you're not neutral somewhere, either in the shoulder blade, or both. We're going to find out where you're not neutral and how to fix that. Our first assessment is the pencil test. We're simply going to grab a pen or pencil, hold it in both hands, stand up, relax, look down and see which direction the pen or pencil faces. In this picture, the pens are pointing straight, so we would just note that down. Now in this next picture, the pen or pencils will face inwardly, and we're going to note that too, and we're just basically going to keep track of how much or what the angle measure might be too as well. This indicates our shoulder alignment. Now by itself, it really doesn't mean that much, because we need to check the scapula distance to the spine. Both the scapula and the shoulder are very connected, such that they'll influence each other's function. So in this video, as you may have seen in the plank series, measuring the distance from the middle of the spine to the scapula, the edge of the scapula. And while I'm measuring the top edge and the bottom edge of the left scapula, I'd like for you to measure the middle of the scapula. It's just going to simplify things for us. The normal range of the middle of the spine to the scapula is 2.5 to 3 inches. So that's what we're looking for. If you see distance which is less than 2.5, you have an adducted scapula. If you have a distance which is greater than 3 inches, you have an abducted scapula. Now in this next chart that I created, we're going to take a look at what it means between the relationship of the scapula to the humerus. We're going to get a diagnosis, and then we can get a treatment. Now in the neutral scapula, which is going over the top row now, the neutral scapula, just 2.5 to 3 inches, with a neutral humerus, which is the pencil pointing forward, our diagnosis is neutral. Consequently, the treatment will be keep it neutral. Okay. Now in the second row, if we have a scapula which is neutral, 2.5 to 3 inches, but the pencil faces inwardly, we have a scap which is neutral, but a humerus which is internally rotated. Consequently, we need to get that shoulder externally rotated, and we're going to go over the treatments in the next video series. Now in the third row, we have a distance which is greater than 3 inches, so we know that we have an abducted scapula, or scapula which is too far away from the middle of the spine. And if we have a humerus, which the pencil points forward, we have a scapula which is abducted, or too far away from the middle of the spine, and consequently that creates a shoulder which is too externally rotated. So we need to, and I don't have this in here, but we do need to get that scapula more adducted in the normal range, and we need to get that shoulder internally rotated. And sometimes when you fix the scap, the shoulder will just correct itself, but I don't see that all the time. In the fourth row, we have a distance of scapula greater than 3 inches, so it's not neutral, it's too abducted, and we have a pencil that points inwardly. Now let's say that we have a scap distance of 3.5 inches and the pencil points inward at about 45 degrees. What that means is that the scapula is abducted, the shoulder is, I would say, neutral in that scenario. Now if we had like a distance of the scap being 4 inches and then the pencil pointing inward just a little bit, I would say the scap is too externally rotated. Biggest goal for this one though is we need to get that scapula more adducted back in the neutral range, and then we can probably take a look at the shoulder. Now in the fifth row, if we have a scapula distance which is less than 2.5 inches, that means scapula is not neutral or adducted, and a humerus which points forward, then we have, consequently, scapula is adducted, shoulder is externally rotated. We need to get that scapula abducted and get the shoulder more internally rotated. Now in the last scenario, if we have a distance of scapula less than 2.5 inches and the pencil points inwardly, we have a scapula which is adducted, but the shoulder is very externally rotated. So that in that scenario, we're going to be very careful and watch out for shoulder impingement. We definitely need to get that scapula abducted, and we definitely need to get that shoulder internally rotated. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below.